Smooth as silk, my friends. Smooth as silk.
We like to keep our
Yeah.
traditions. I'm not really sure if oh, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. I couldn't.
Actually,
Oh,
5, 6 years from now, everything from
Oh,
2000s.
We really like
There we go
keeping
now.
up with traditions and
Yeah.
starting our streams like this. And,
Yeah.
you know,
We used to laugh at Linus Tech Tips when they do their WAN show, and I think we've got them down pretty much. You're going to hear this again until I get it. Pause. Will I catch it in time? Oh, I did. I
now while you're waiting for us to catch up with our live stream that we should be on and ready, go and tweet out this link and tell everybody that you are here and that we're going to have an amazing guest today. The legend himself, Biker Bushcraft, is going to be on. We're so excited.
Yeah.
Talking all extreme travel, camping, bikes, desert, mountains. Oh my God, it's going to be.
It is. It is cool. I'm excited to have him on. I think I met him through Beer Belly Travelers, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, and if I don't know if he remembers, I don't have the best memory. But I seem to remember that's where the connection came from, and the guy is amazing. This is going to be really interesting tonight, guys. Man, instead of an accident. He's recovering at the moment, but he's all ready to get back on the bike and stuff like that and everything. The travels that he had. I'm a little envious because I always would have loved to have traveled that way.
Yes.
So,
it kind of that idea or the vision of, bike driving off to the sunset.
Oh, definitely.
Desert road. It's just
every romantic idea you had about the open road, he pretty much has lived it. And that's what's so cool about it. And it's not in hotels and stuff like that. It was all the off the beaten path, if you may say so.
I can't see you.
I know. I was turned for a second because I'm trying to do something. That's the whole reason.
Okay, it's me. Well, hi, and Biker Bushcraft is in our live stream in the chat right now. If you guys keep saying nice things, my head will not fit the screen. That's okay.
That's so funny.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so much fun. You already could see that. So please go out and share the stream. The more the merrier. Right now we have Shine Bright Studio Photography. Hi.
Shine Bright, welcome. We haven't seen you. I was telling you, I think, and I forget which chat it is. So glad to have you here.
Yeah, we also have Trainman. Hi, we were talking about you yesterday, and we sent a couple of people yesterday to your channel to check it out. So you must have some numbers climbing up. I hope so. Terrell Emerson TV. Hi, thank you for coming. UP4204. I saw them. Yeah, that's our beginning. It's not going to be us if it will be like that. So you should get used to it by now. If it gets smooth, that's not us. Probably.
That's our signature.
Yeah, somebody have taken our live stream over if it goes nice and smooth. So
here's some big news, guys. A little bit of update. Oh, there we are. We're 1301 today. We cracked it.
A big tap on the shoulder.
That's right. That is right.
They can't see me, but I'm still
no, I know. But I like your enthusiasm.
But I'm still tapping.
She literally tapped me. There's nowhere to lie. So.
Yeah. So very happy for that. Nathan likes drums. Hello.
Welcome.
And Nathan was in our live stream on Monday, on our Manic Monday, together with Reg from Cornlight Pittsburgh and Rosarian Buck, and also Brother Dunn joined us later on, and we had amazing jam. Or tried to do a jam session,
exactly.
But it was also just
it was talk shop, we'll call it.
Yeah, music and playing instruments. It was awesome. So love to have him on. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. We need encouragement. No, but thank you very much, and especially thank you guys for all the support that we've been having lately. It's amazing. Yeah. It's getting exciting day by day. So love it. Ken Master is in.
Oh,
hi.
Nice.
Philip Cockram is in. Hi. Thank you.
Such great channels.
Yes, it's so great to have you in. Nathan says it was a fun live stream.
Yeah, it was. Living Life Illinois. Hello. We were in contact all the time. This guy is like the ultimate car guru. Yeah, I just watching him. He did a whole video, like 15 minutes, on just how to properly like wipe down your car and that, like doing the wax stuff. I love the love affair he has with his vehicle.
Well, you're gonna definitely enjoy our next week's guest.
Yes.
We have a little car show, so to say,
Mhm.
coming up. I'm not gonna say who
Mhm.
and from which channel and which day yet. We're
Yep.
gonna announce later on, but we have well, next week is full again. It's
Mhm.
filled up.
It's
And
crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah,
We got like 2 weeks almost. Like set
yeah,
up.
we have filled it up with amazing guests again, and yeah, next week is gonna be a car show on too. So keep your eyes open for the announcement for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, there we go. So I'm
You're
playing
all
here
good.
on the side today. I got all kinds of things going. That was all to make sure that you guys had a smooth opening and the show went off without a hitch as usual.
Yeah, and you know how it worked out.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
So doing a good job, Andrew.
Thanks for the pat on the back. That's the kind of yeah.
Now, remind me, what did we do yesterday? Yesterday
Oh my
we
God,
had.
I forget what I'm doing now.
You know your name? Where are you? What is the date? Should I
Yeah,
call 911?
so.
Maybe. Yesterday we had Pusa Studios. Sal from Pusa
That
Studios
was
on.
so cool.
That was so cool. That was creative. So many questions still
Yeah.
unanswered. We'd like to have him on again.
Oh yeah, we definitely got to at some point.
Yeah, and
for
we're
sure.
gonna let him draw next time as well. This time
Yeah.
we were just bombarding him with questions, and EDM Blackstar was having 1,001 questions
Yes.
yesterday as well, which we appreciated so much because it looked like he was the biggest fan of Pusa Studios. He knew everything about him and everything there was to know about animating and
Yeah.
comic books. So we had a great co-host in the chat with all the questions.
That was
that was amazing.
Things only. It's nice when you have that kind of interaction like that. That really makes the go so much nicer and smoother like that.
Yeah.
It was a.
And today earlier, Andrew dropped by James' live stream, and here we have HTHMTV
Yes.
dropping in to say hello. They met you on James'
Yes.
stream. Can you talk about that a little tiny bit? I wasn't here. I don't know what he did again without me. Hopefully nothing bad.
Another channel, jeez, another channel from today. I always like that to find new channels. Let's see. Let's share. I'm going to do that. That's something new. I'm going to let this load up. Let's share it right on screen. Let's see here. Share. As you can see, everything is working so good as usual. There we go. And we got it. Well, let's take a look around for a second. So, guys, here's another channel. I don't know if you're familiar yet. Thankfully, we are today. Yeah, in the Lee Greenwood IOU cut. That's something I didn't expect to hear. That's a song that I had completely forgotten about. So I thought that was very cool.
Tell me about it. Is it the music channel, it looks like?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, harmony and oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. You gotta check it out.
Yeah.
Singing,
Like,
vocalist.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
Harper.
I have the
Wow.
now you guys get to see what I look like when I'm browsing channels. I'm all over the place. I'm like jumping.
Well, I will have to go
playlists.
and check it out because, as I said, I
Yeah.
wasn't on the stream today. But I will
Mm.
definitely go and check all the amazing channels.
Their respect for our military. Anytime I see a playlist named after that, they got my support.
That's right.
Very cool. See, she supports lots.
Oh,
So, yeah.
already getting some support there. Bottle Caps is in too today. He has passion for cooking.
That is so cool.
What kind of food do you cook?
Yeah.
What is your cuisine? I love cooking.
Yeah.
I like baking. I love cooking,
Yeah.
but baking the most.
Sing and a great voice too, and it's just like cover. Like Lee Greenwood IOU is one of those songs I've. Yeah, it was not definitely the first one I would have thought somebody to cover, so that's really neat.
Now another person from James's stream
Yes.
today, Coach Ali. Oh, wow, that's a long.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me try.
Uncompromising business and personal relationship coaching.
Well, I wanted to.
Yeah, I know, and I know.
That's
what.
my thing. You
Yeah.
took my line away.
Yeah.
We rehearsed this.
Yeah.
Not sticking to the plan.
We never do anything to the
I
plan.
know.
So that's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe it's better that way. I always butcher long names, so I'm well known for that. So, but thank you for coming in. I will have to go and check your channel as well. As I said, I wasn't on the live stream today, but Anne was saying it was awesome. It was going really well.
Yeah.
And it was very active, and got to know a lot of channels, people behind them.
Yep.
So thank you for coming in and checking us out. This is our live stream, our Thursday date night.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
tonight we're going to be spending with our guest, the legend himself, Biker Bushcraft.
Oh, big time. Yeah. No. This guy is. I'm actually honored that he's coming on. Oh, sorry. He's that type of person that I always hope I'll become. I just something about him. He's so cool, and he's got that mystic father thing. Like, you always expect like great advice to come, like, when he's talking. And
I expect that.
Yeah,
I do today.
I should say that, and you do get it. Yeah, like as soon as you see him, like right away, you get that feeling. So, no.
Yeah, Coach. We have every day. We have. I don't know if you know that, but we do stream every day for 8 to 10 p.m. except for Sundays. And every day we have a different theme. Like Tuesdays, we have our Tuesday Tech Talk, and so Wednesday Wisdom on Wednesdays, and Friday Night Lights, and Saturday Night Party, and oh my God! So every night is something different, and we almost always have a guest. Sometimes we choose to just two of us to chat around and hang around with the chat. That's what we like about this here. We always try to interact with the chat a little bit at the beginning and at the end as well. Yesterday was so funny because in the middle of the stream, some people got booted out because of YouTube had some problems.
Yeah.
And then once people got back and we were trying to wrap up our stream, and nobody wanted to go.
Yeah.
We tried a couple times. Okay,
it was like those house party where the last time they pick up the bottles and stuff, or closing time.
We served the tea, and they were still here, and we loved it, and we didn't want to finish it either. And people were like, "Well, we don't want to leave yet," and I loved it so much, and I would just love to hang around with you guys all the time. I wish I wouldn't have to wake up at 6:30. That's the only thing, but it was so sweet.
Real Canadian lunker hunters in the house. It's been a little while. So glad to have you here. Great channel. We've been trying on the side to catch up. Like, we love all of you. It's so nice to when we're still trying to catch up with as many Canadian channels as possible. Just turn it a little bit because I'm working on the side here. I'm kind of back and forth, in and out.
I don't know what you're
I'm
doing
in Studio A, Studio B.
I'm gonna take it over. Bottle caps is different, but it's usually the same. LOL.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. We have the same format, but different days are different guests, and it's just fun.
It's different for the guest. It's same for the high production quality, is what Bottle Caps is trying to say.
Oh yes. Well, thank you for your compliment.
We're going to start a new section called Sunny Days with Bottle Caps, where he's just going to get on and brighten up the whole world with his gentle smile.
Well, for Bottle Caps, when he doesn't come, and that's very rare occasions, I miss you. I really do. I just checked your channel. You are 604.
Excellent.
So now, for those of you who doesn't know, on the 12th of April, Bottle Caps got over 500. Today is 19th of April, so that is just a week later.
Yeah.
And he cracked 600. That's amazing.
That is great.
That's so amazing. That's and it all happened here.
Because Bottle Caps used to come here and say, "Well, nobody's looking at my channel. Why is nobody looking at my channel?" Now they're looking at your channel. They're looking at your channel.
No, we're really happy you got that. And yesterday, for those of you who don't know, the Corn Life Network cracked their 500 on our live stream as well. They weren't on; they were sleeping.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's right.
But we helped them reach 500 anyway. That's the great community we all are.
Exactly.
Here, right? So
everybody is so awesome. Love having you guys all together, get to know each other. Basically, in short, what we do here is, continue on what Xenia was saying, was we build long-term relationships. This is where we bring on YouTubers that you've been watching their videos, and maybe some you haven't seen yet, and get to know them, and hopefully that will keep you guys going for years down the road, because you always connect better with somebody once you get to know the person behind the lens. So it worked for us.
Yeah.
It was James Cox's stream. If it wasn't for him, I don't even know if we'd have this anywhere near the supporters we had. The channel was working good, but like we were growing, but people getting to know us really shot us up. So
like I always say, and for those of you who are new today, because I see lots of new faces today, it's not about just channels. I mean, it's great, we're supporting each other and you know, numbers, analytics, but it's more about who's behind the channel. It's not the channels that are connecting, it's people behind them. And we want you to know more about the people behind the channels. And in the meantime, we get to know people behind the channels, and not only the guests that are on, but also the people in the chat. We get to know you more and more every time you come. And it's such an amazing feeling to have that connection with people who keep coming back. You know,
guys, we're doing something that was just dreamed about a couple of years ago, literally, even though technology changes so fast. Oh, by the way, Biker Bushcraft just sent you a tweet. And that's the great thing about this is we're doing something that long ago was just kind of a light dream. Oh, yeah. Well, that's great. Biker Bushcraft, I'm getting distracted by HTH MTV's channel. A lot of my favorite music and beautiful voice. Isn't that amazing like this, where you can just find channels on the fly?
Oh, Coach Ellie and Real Canadian, don't be sorry. He's in a better place now. And don't worry, we can say that. We know more about his divorce.
We have
a knowledge about
Don't be sorry, I'm very happy.
Exactly. That's what I just was saying. He's in a better place now. But bottle caps, this is a long distance relationship. It's a bit different. And it's not the same person. So don't worry. This is going to last. So.
Bottle Cap's got a long-standing career if he ever wants in children's television or suicide hotline help.
Yeah, we have, like I was saying, Coach Ellie, we have a little
long-standing career if he ever wants in children's television or suicide
they come regularly. We get to know them. Like Bottle Cap's now here. We know a lot about his divorce. So, and I think we're at that point of the relationship. We could actually laugh about it. And as I said, I would miss it. He wouldn't be in our stream. So I think we'd have our guest.
Yeah, he was on. I think he was having trouble.
Oh yeah, you can mute your YouTube when you come in.
Leave the Hangouts up, but just mute the channel itself. That way you can see the chat. Actually, even better, just pause the chat.
Yeah.
Pause the video in the stream. Oh my God, tonight what's going on?
And you're going to be still able to...
pause the stream, you'll be able to watch the chat, and you'll leave your Hangouts. Hangouts.
Oh,
I was almost there. What is going on tonight? What's in this coffee?
Real. I don't know any English tongue twisters. So.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know that. We are a long-distance relationship. Bottle Cap said that long-distance relationship never work out. We had a long-distance relationship when we just met online.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Second Life put us together.
There I am.
Chance, but yeah, it did work out here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you great.
Perfect. Can see you clear.
You are so... I can't believe you're here. It's almost like a legend coming to life.
Well, I have to admit, I've never been called legendary before, but thank you.
Well, that's a pleasure. It's all mine. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. And thanks for coming. It is really appreciated.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm actually really excited to get on this stream. It's a little different genre than some of the live streams that I've participated in. But these are my people who love art and, you know, love imagery. And so I'm excited to be here.
I'm so honored. And like, since we met, you know, we've commented on each other's videos and stuff. And I always liked when you put a comment on something that I've worked on to it. You know, you always appreciate anybody who appreciates what you do, but there's sometimes some that mean just like that little extra thing behind it. And I always liked your comments and stuff. It always meant a lot coming from you.
Well, thank you. I try to be thoughtful and you know, say what I'm really thinking. So.
Well, you definitely do that. So are you originally from a small town? I was trying to remember that, and I honestly couldn't remember.
Well, I've got a pretty diverse background. While I was born in a small town, I grew up out in the sticks and in the inner city. I've been all over. So I've spent about equal times in my life from living in Alexandria, Virginia, which is about as inner city as you could get back in the early 70s, late 60s,
Yeah.
to out in the sticks where I am now, up in the Sierras near Yosemite.
How are you liking it out there where you are now?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I go back and forth between here and Monterey, and so I get the mountains and the ocean. Can't ask for more.
You poor guy with such a tough life.
It is, I'll tell you.
You know, well, you've had your ups and downs, and I mean, definitely I guess we could start off. You could maybe tell people right now that then we can work our way back about if you, I don't know, you don't have to go any further than you want to, but maybe a bit about yourself, just where in adult years wise, we'll go back younger later on, and just about like your biking and that, and we'll lead up to the accident if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. You know, I've been since I was a kid, before I was a teenager, I was into motorcycles and engines and mechanical things. It's just something I've always done, and started riding at a pretty young age. And so I've been riding my whole life. I've been camping my whole life. And when I was a kid, when we went camping, I mean, we didn't bring a pickup truck and a toy hauler behind us. We would typically, you know, pack the family, the four of us in the car, and pack some tents and sleeping bags and call it good.
No.
And that's how I learned to camp. And that's what my expectation is out in the bush, is that, you know, you make do with what you have and be comfortable. And I've always applied that to my camping style, whether I'm riding or whether I'm in a car or whatever. And over the years, and those who've seen the trailer for my channel, this will sound familiar, but it really is almost a mantra for me. People I've known have been less and less willing to get out and camp with very little, camp on a motorcycle. They want to stay in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And that just has never been me. I love the outdoors, and I'm always broke. So if I can get out there and travel on the
it always
motorcycle,
brings out the best art in everybody is the lack of money, you say.
Exactly. It's a true motivator.
Yes.
But you know, I get out there with what I can carry with me, and it's usually me and my wife on the bike. And get a little light on the subject here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So anyway, we get what we can on the bike, and we're on the road. We've been on the road as much as a month at a time, and just really enjoy it, and enjoy what we're doing. I started this channel with the idea that some of the people I know who are not willing to get out there and camp because they're intimidated by it, because they feel like they need more than they actually need.
Yes.
To show them how it's done, essentially, to give some inspiration to people to get out there on the bike and go camping, camp simply, camp bushcraft style. And again, bushcraft is a passion for me. You know, I like taking a few tools and building whatever I need along the way. I'd much rather camp under a tarp than in a tent, and much rather have a wool blanket than a sleeping bag. Sleeping bags make me sweat, and tents, I wake up wet every morning. So, but anyway, that's kind of how I got where I was, and making these videos. And I recently had an encounter with gravity that didn't turn out so well for me. Ended up shattering my tibia, and so I've this was back in February. I've got some steel plates in my leg now, and still on crutches for about another month, but I'm recovering well, and actually rolled the biker out of the I rolled the bike out of the garage today and cleaned it up and did a little work. So
he's wondering why I said legend. I'm telling you, this guy.
Exactly. I wasn't questioning why.
Oh my god.
Oh, Linda Rudder, thanks. That's nice of you to say.
So cool. I love your dedication to it. I think that it's well. Oh yeah, I shouldn't even. Please, do you want to talk any about the accident, or is that something you'd rather just leave? It's up to you.
Oh, it's you know, actually, there's some lessons to be taken away from it. It was a hit and run accident. It was a situation where a car came off a feeder road and nearly hit the car in front of me, and the car in front of me lost control. And it was either hit the car, hit the ground, and ultimately the ground won.
Oh, my
no.
God.
But here's the thing about it is I was doing below the speed limit. I was riding with some other riders. The fact I had an escape route planned, I had good safety gear on, did everything right, and it still happened.
Yeah.
The other riders that were with me, had the car gone left instead of right, it would have gotten somebody instead of me. It was just luck of the draw. And the reality is every time we get out there on a motorcycle or walking or driving or anything else, it's just luck of the draw. You can be as careful as you want and things happen. So, you know, my attitude is no reason to stop living life because something happened. Just move forward and realize this was just one instance, one drop in the pan of what will hopefully be a very long life.
Yes, yes. And at least now you can say, I got that one out of the way, so now I go on living life, and you've paid your share.
Exactly.
And, you know, not that you want anybody else to pay it as well. So now you can say that you're checked on the list, and now you'll be good to go. So
ACMR Ross says that you look like the guy from the Pawn Stars.
yeah.
You know, I've never been compared to him before. Usually people compare me to Lonnie.
Oh my God.
You're making me
Northern.
feel sad that I shaved my beard the other day. Now I feel so guilty looking at you. I should have left it alone.
I just trimmed mine. Mine was like that just a couple of weeks ago, but
I see that.
quite frankly, I was getting too much beard in my dinner, and I like my dinner.
Well, I think you're looking good.
Oh, thank you.
So, just was going to ask about. So, how long do you think before your leg will be healed enough for you to be able to drive?
I think I'm there right now. Well, I'm driving a clutch right now. I'm driving a car, no problem. Ever since my last doctor appointment, he said that amount of pressure is okay. So I've driven about 1,000 miles in the car over the last week now, and but on the bike, I'm thinking of trying to take it around the bike around the block this weekend and see how I feel. It felt pretty good. I could shift and put the kickstand down, and that's the main thing.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well, that's a very short recovery for that. I mean, because that was a serious accident. I mean, and the damage that was done, that's quite fast, I would say.
It's pretty good. My biggest concern is long term. My knee sustained some pretty substantial damage.
Right.
Really don't know what's going to happen with that. So they're taking a wait and see approach, see if it bothers me.
Okay. Sorry, my phone keeps. Okay, there. I'm making sure because I got a really loud ringer when it goes off. It's a train horn. So
Bottle Caps just brought up a question, and that also makes me want to ask. It's a two-part question. One is he's asking if you watched the video made by Hamimoto sliding under an 18-wheeler in Southern California and surviving. And my part of the question was, did you always consider riding a motorbike a more extreme side of doing things, or is it for you the same as driving a car?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen that video. I don't go out of my way to watch motorcycle wreck videos. Although it does sound interesting to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm like you too. Like, not
curious.
There's a lingering thought in my head about that one.
But I really don't give it any thought as being any more extreme than anything else I do in my life. It's just something that came naturally to me. There was a couple of years where I didn't own a bike back about 15 years ago, and it really didn't feel natural not to have a bike. I just always have. Since I was 12 years old, I have always had a motorcycle. So it's just part of who I am, I guess. And I really don't think about it as anything other than that.
Were you a dirt bike guy when you first started, or did you like get in later in life and go right into the Harleys and stuff?
Well, I was never a dirt rider. And my reason for that is I really don't like falling down. And I discovered that riding dirt bikes, falling down is just part of the game. Riding street bikes, the idea is you don't fall down.
Yeah,
So.
and you have to change pistons every time you go out.
Yeah, and I lived out in the sticks when I first got into motorcycles, and I got to say, kind of an interesting aside is I lived in a neighborhood that was out in the sticks, and everybody rode up and down the street, and you could get away with that; it wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids had bikes. I got a bike. Then I had to learn how to fix it because. Of course, you know, when you're 12 years old, what kind of money have you got, right?
That's right.
So I joined the 4-H program out there, and it was actually really cool. I learned about small engines. I really got excited about learning about the mechanics of an engine, and that helped me put together the bike, keep it on the road, and it actually helped drive my career forward even to this day.
That's a really neat. I've known people in the 4-H club and stuff like that. Never thought of how it would help them. The one that we had around my place, because I grew up in a rural area, was heavily farming, but it was mostly based on like livestock and stuff like that. I wasn't in it, but I knew people who were.
Sure.
So that's really cool that you got that out of it. That's a big plus.
It's certainly something I've carried with me, and I've always been a big proponent of 4-H. It was such important part, at least where I grew up, of helping kids find a passion, find things that interested them. And the parts of the program that were so diverse, you could get into animal husbandry, you could get into agriculture, or you could get into, they had shooting, riflery classes. They had small engine repair programs, and all of that just gave everybody a chance to get well-rounded, get some experience in these areas and learn about things.
It is so lacking today, and I'm trying to do it. We were trying to do it, with our kids and stuff. And see, growing up in a small town, in a small rural area, I always wanted to get out. I always wanted the city. I did the dirt bike thing. I listened to Alan Jackson. Not that I don't like country music, but when it's forced on you and it's the only genre that everybody will listen to, you tend to get bitter at things. And I couldn't wait to get out, but I always feel that I kept part of it with me. And I don't like to use the term too much, but for my kids, I've always wanted them to become Renaissance men. And I've used the term that I don't want them walking into a barn saying "old cow poopy," and I don't want them going into a board meeting with a pair of overalls on yelling yippee.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything. It's using your head, and it's good to know both sides of where the world turns, so you're not oblivious to what's going on around you. And that's what scares me a lot today when I see so much obliviousness, is to be honest. I have talk radio here, and I've actually even called in once where I usually don't. They were talking about a guy had shot a deer and this whole great big thing. And my father, he was big into hunting, but he wasn't like a wahoo about it. Like he did reloading. He taught me how to use it. He never let us have BB guns because he never wanted us to treat any gun as a toy. It was only for what it was meant for. So he didn't want to cross over and confuse. And at the same time, he didn't tell us to go and shoot at everything that walked. He didn't tell us to hurt and maim, to never take bad shots. It was about respecting it and respecting where your meat comes from, and all these things are being connected to it. And I'm trying to get that in my kids' head, but I see so much that not existent in the urban areas anymore. People are oblivious to where any meat comes from, and I even hear people talking that they're vegan, which is great. I don't knock anybody who wants to be, for instance. This is just one topic. Mm-hmm. But it's because they're completely oblivious of the whole point of where their meat comes from. And to me, to make that kind of a decision, you got to know where it does in the first place.
Absolutely. I just wanted to throw in there, Rob Hoffman. I don't know if he's still listening, but congrats, man. I just passed 1K a couple of weeks ago myself, so way to go.
Yeah, he's there.
Passed 1,000 just 2 minutes on our stream. He just popped in and got over 1,000. So congratulations, that's amazing. Bradford Backwoods is saying that motorcycles teach you a lot. He agrees with what you guys were saying.
Yeah,
about their lifestyle.
They do, and one of the things with riding a motorcycle, you're much more connected to the world around you. You have to be. You have to be more aware, and you're attached to everything. You smell everything. You see things that you'd never experience, see, smell in a car. And those are all big positives to traveling by motorcycle, at least in my book. And what you were saying about learning a lot, it goes beyond that. When our kids were young, we thought it was important that they learn not just how to drive a car, but actually learn about the car. Yeah. And our oldest son, we gave a Volkswagen Bug to. And to this day, many, many years later, he still rants and raves about how much he learned owning that Volkswagen Bug, learning to work on the engine, learning to keep it running. And it got the better of him a few times, but he certainly learned. And the motorcycle is something similar. My oldest son actually, hey, Matt Cook. Anyway, my oldest son took up riding. I didn't put him to it. I never wanted to put any of my kids on a bike, but if they chose to do it, I certainly support it. And it's done a lot of good things for him. The people that he befriended and learned about, the lifestyle he learned about, and different parts of life that he learned about, being connected in that way and being part of a community, because motorcyclists do tend to be a community, even if there are divisions.
So much. That's so true. And the motorcycle also, like you say, connected is such a great point. Even what I was saying a while ago, once again, it's the vehicle that truly forces you to be connected, because you're more vulnerable than a car, and you're really more vulnerable than a pedestrian or a bicycle driver, because you have a lot more weight underneath of you doing the same thing and a lot faster. So it does take all your senses. You can't do all the distractions that you do when you're in a car. And that's a great point you made there. I kept rolling that over my head. Xenia, I don't know if you know this. She's originally from a country called Latvia, above Poland.
Aha.
Yeah.
I have a new viewer from Poland who has fascinated me with his comments, and I'm interested in that part of the world, so that's cool.
Well, Latvia is such a small country. It's the only one that I can think of close enough, because it's Poland, then Lithuania, and then Latvia above it. It's right on the Baltic Sea, facing Sweden on one side of the sea. And like over there, all these ex-Soviet countries, when they take their driver's license, it's nothing like here. I mean, they're schooled in vehicles before they can pass.
Yeah, you gotta know how to change a tire, where to check the oil and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And to become a truck driver, you literally almost become a heavy mechanic in the process.
Yeah, I used to be a commercial driving instructor, and that was part of my teaching regime. Is I made sure that the students, while they were learning to do their walk-around inspection every day, started to learn the mechanics of the vehicle and actually got really familiar. And I had a couple of students who, as many young truck drivers do, got close to losing their license, and their next step was to go into being truck mechanics.
Yeah, that's right. That is very true. How true is I was a truck driver myself. That's how I got to see a lot of the States years ago, doing long haul out of Montreal. And it definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be a hard life. Sure, if you didn't know about air brakes and everything when you started, you're going to learn. You're going to be baptized by fire. And you don't get the new trucks when you start either. You get the old 80, like I had an 88 Freightliner, and I got to learn the truck pretty intimately.
Oh, I'm only laughing because, I remember when the 88 Freightliner was a new truck, just like the 88 T600. Oh, my God. That's after I got out of driving long haul and went to driving local.
Okay. But, what were you hauling when you were driving long haul? What, general freight or container?
I've hauled everything from produce to dry freight to flatbeds. I've done heavy haul. I've done dirt hauling, transfers, end dumps, bottom dumps.
Wow.
So I started driving truck down in Arizona when I was 19, and still have my Class A license and still occasionally do drive-away service and things. So it's been 30 something years.
Wow. You looked on the wire for. You're looking. Well, 88. So you would remember the new truck. So you started driving about what? Well, about what age did you start driving truck?
Well, I started at 19 down in Arizona. Back in those days, and I won't mention any names, but basically the boss would walk up and say, "Hey, you think you can drive that truck?" And
Yeah.
he'd say yes, and he'd say, "Okay, we need somebody on the weekend to drive."
Oh my god!
Hey, and my bro Len is on here.
Oh, please say hi.
Yeah, so Len Terzo, he and I go back, oh my God, 10 plus years. And we've done a lot of riding together on the East Coast and the West Coast. And one of my absolute closest friends and brothers. And so, Len, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you
Welcome.
for coming.
East side.
I love it. Pardon me.
Yeah,
That's like
bottle
a family
caps.
they
You're
see.
right. That's good.
And everybody's going to mingle and they're going to take care of you, Len, and you're going to get some supporters, I'm sure, before you leave here. And it's a big, happy family.
Bottle caps, of course, on his jokes. Old truckers never die. They just get a new Peterbilt.
Oh my. Yeah, it's
Sorry.
I've had a pretty diverse life and done a lot of different things, but I think the majority of it has been around trucks, boats, and bikes.
Well, you're a motor man.
Very much so. I like to travel. I like to go places.
That's cool. I seen that you were in. Actually, I was just closing this down because I put up the preview today, and I got to close it. I don't know if you've seen it, but the intro for you. I don't know if you've seen the promo video we put up.
No, actually.
Yeah, and in the description I put, we always write something. I put it's the mid of night, and it's the mid of night somewhere in North America. The coyote cry and stars in the sky of your cinema. The smells of campfire smoke and chain oil fill your senses. You don't understand, you will after tonight. So
There you go. I like that. Yes, I do have that up and didn't read it. I wasn't sure what you meant.
yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and it does fit. You know, I have kind of a philosophy about being out in the bush, camping, and general survival, and that is whatever you have in front of you is enough.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't go out of my way to be minimalist. It just sort of works. Years ago, I did a radio show, and it was on sailing, cruising specifically. And one very common theme that would come up was the fact that people would ask, you know, a boat's small. How do you live on a boat? How do two people be comfortable on a boat for a long period of time? But if you look at your home, how much space do you really live in? You've got all these rooms, you got all this space, and it's all full of stuff. But the space you actually live in, you know, you sit in the same chair every night to watch TV. You sit at the same place at the table every night to eat your dinner. You sleep in the same bed. You go in the same bathroom. And that's your space.
Definitely.
And so all this other stuff, and as my favorite comedian George Carlin used to like to say, stuff. I'm sure a lot of you know that routine. It's you don't need it. You don't need it. It's not about the things you need to sustain yourself. So when I go out and camp, I bring tools. I'll find a place to sit, or I'll make myself a chair out of the logs that are there. I bring bare minimum stuff. I don't bring kindling wood and charcoal and firewood to start my fire. I collect some wood and start a fire. I bring some cooking utensils, and I bring a tarp, and I bring a wool blanket, and a few other comfort items, but it's really very little, and I never find myself wanting.
Yeah. The brain is very good in the woods. Between your brain and what's in front of you, I love that. Everything you need is right in front of you. Like, that's such a great quote right there.
I think it also ties up with being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You know, if your mindset is that self-sufficiency, then you know that you're gonna be okay with whatever you have, right? You know, and that's what you guys were talking about earlier, about the kids not being able oftentimes doing that.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they need more things because they don't know how to
Well, yeah, they've never been
be
exposed to
with
that
what
thought
they
process
have, you know.
because they've been brought up in a world of excess. And I'm not like a
And not
minimalist
everybody,
either.
of course, but
I'm not preaching tonight. I mean, I'm glad our kids have what they have, but they are missing something special if they don't get the chance to put these survival tactics. And it sounds drastic, survival, but it is part of survival. It is part of knowing how to take care of yourself in almost any situation. And it's a very important tool that's slowly kind of fading away into obscurity. There's so many things out there. The woods, like you say, I mean, you just need some spruce boughs and you're already halfway to a bed. You know, it's
Well, it's fascinating to me. You know, it's yeah, I do what I can, brother Dan. Is it the things I know
it's good.
and the things that to me, hey Christopher, are just like everyday stuff, the stuff I assume other people know, but it's surprising. I find out, and I'll give you, for instance, you can't do it anymore from what I understand, but back when we were teenagers, if you wanted free hamburgers, you went behind the fast food joint when they were about to close, and they'd give you all the expired free hamburgers you wanted. You know, you could eat forever on that stuff.
Oh my
Good
God.
for you, but you could.
Right.
But these are like urban survival tactics, places that you can sleep. There are a lot of places that you can get away with sleeping in town. Nobody will bother you. And people just don't know it. It's like a foreign concept. And to me, realizing that is something that I try to work on all the time.
Yeah.
And as I see comments from my viewers, being surprised at some of the techniques that I use and some of the things I do, I realize that not everybody knows this stuff now. Not everybody came up the same way I did. So I'm glad to share that knowledge, those basic survival skills.
yeah, I think it's kind of skipped the generation, and like the younger generation. Than I'm 34, we're 10 years apart. So the younger generation than me, I think they're kind of getting back to the grassroots. You know, they're learning how to can things. You know, they're trying to do more minimalistic style. So I think it's getting there, but it's not quite there yet.
It's better than what it was 20 years ago in some ways. I think there is hope for this new generation. There's a new found, like the new the minimal house, you know, the miniature
tiny houses
and stuff, container homes. I mean, all these things I love. I would give anything to turn back to have a chance to be their age in this day and age and see what it's like.
I agree.
Use the tools you're talking about that we learned when we were younger, but to get to put them in practice with what they have today, you know.
Yeah, and Bradford Backwoods, you hit the nail on the head. That's kind of how what I represent with my channel a little bit. But,
I hear a Bon Jovi song coming.
Yeah, but you know what? Bottle Caps hit on something here. Somebody asked me the question about, would you rather have been born in a different century?
Right.
And I thought it was a fascinating question because I've heard other people ask that and immediately say, oh yeah, I wish I was born in the 1800s, you know, 19th century, 18th century. Not me, man. I want to be born in the 21st century. I want to live in this century.
Yes.
Because I can go out there and throw all the tools away and go camping. And if it doesn't work out, I can come back and get on the computer and figure out why. I want my technology. I want my modern conveniences available. I'm not for giving them up, but I am for using them reasonably, and I am for not relying exclusively on them.
Yeah, I think it's an option. It's the freedom of having an option that our forefathers, as Bottle Cap said, didn't have. They were forced to do so or to be so. We have that freedom of option to be one or another, or as you just said, you know, to go camping and then to come back and have all the technology. You're free to choose if you want to live minimalistic life, let's say, or not.
It's more mixing and matching, and you can pick different levels depending on the day. If you want to feel more free, you can let it go for a couple hours, and it's always there when you need it again. You know?
Lenterzo, your friend says you can live modern and camp old.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a very great
way
that
is.
That's right.
You guys need to write a book, the two of you together. Just drink codes for. I already got a great bunch of one-liners tonight. I love it.
Oh God, I'll tell you, when he and I get together, it's a pretty interesting conversation always.
Well, I think, folks, I think we found an idea for an upcoming show is to put the two of them together. What do you think?
I think for your new T-shirt set, I know you are putting the T-shirts out, so I think that Live Modern Camp Old would greatly look on the T-shirt.
I like that.
It does.
Len, you give me credit, just don't expect money.
Oh, I love it, love it.
You are so amazing. Oh my God, I could listen to you all night. I can see where you did a radio show. I see just by the way you present yourself and that it was probably so riveting to listen to.
It was fun. I had quite a few listeners for what it was. It was back in the 90s, in the early days of internet radio.
Oh, wow.
And I had a couple of different shows, one on alternative energy and the other one on sailing and cruising.
Oh. Wow. So you really covered the gamut with it. That's so cool. The thing I was talking about Renaissance Man a while ago, like why I brought that up too, I always believe that, but I think like you're the true embodiment of it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, and when you're in elementary school, people are always asking you, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah.
And I had a pretty simple answer. Everything, and when I figure out what I like, I'll go back and do that stuff over again.
Oh God, oh, that is so amazing. And you've kind of done that, like really, when you think about it.
I'm working on it. I haven't quite grown up yet, so I'm still working on it.
That's overrated anyway, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, Brother Dunn, to answer your question, my wife and I actually, when we first got together, I was doing some work independently, helping people design off-the-grid systems. And she and I lived off the grid for quite a few years and got pretty good at just using basic wind, solar, and water to produce power and meet our needs. One of the most interesting components that I ever dealt with, we had a water system that was based on a high lifter pump. And for anybody who's heard of a high lifter pump, you'll get the reference. The thing looks like a bong with moving parts, and it works strictly off of high flow, low volume water going, or low pressure water going into the pump and driving it to high pressure, low volume and pumping it uphill. So that's my favorite component of it. But off the grid systems, and ultimately we took that onto our boats, and we're very self-sufficient while we're out sailing.
That is so cool.
That's amazing.
But and is it still something of interest to you?
Oh yeah, my wife and I have our boat out in the Monterey Bay, and we sail when we can. And I actually have, and those of you here are the first to hear about this, but as a result of this accident, I had to come down off the mountain and get a 8-to-5 type job, and I'm working in the boating industry now.
Oh, really?
Yep, starting on the 30th.
Well, congratulations to you. I hope you're happy about it. Is it something you're happy for? Or
I am. I'm very excited about it. It's unfortunate that I had to be in that situation, but if I had to do it, it would be my dream job. So I'm very happy.
Well, then congratulations. That's if that's the way. That's all I want to make sure. If that's the way you feel about it, then we couldn't be happier for you.
Well, so thank you. Absolutely. And Brother Dunn, just to answer your question, our home is not off the grid. Our boat, any boat is technically off the grid. We've got batteries and inverter, but we're typically hooked to shore power when we're aboard and at the dock.
That's so cool. I wanted to show you one quick picture here. I'm just going to open this up. I'm going to put it on the share screen. I don't think we've ever shown this before. See here. Sorry. There we go.
Yes, you have. I remember that picture.
Yeah. That is Xenia's grandfather.
Oh my God, yeah.
And why I want to show it to you, he was a general in the Russian army. And he was the one who did some of the first blueprints. He was an engineer, excuse me, as well, trained, and then a general, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did some of the first blueprints of the windmills that we have today. He did some of the early designs. And because it was Soviet time, he wasn't allowed to have any credit for his work. And once the wall fell, he was actually recognized by the University of New York for his work in developing the windmills that we see today.
Very cool. Yeah, I remember that picture. I really wanted to talk more about that when you put it up on an earlier stream.
Oh, sorry about that.
oh no, it's fine. I think that's very cool. That's an amazing history. Really
I always like to bring it up because, like I say, during Soviet time, he wasn't allowed to have any credit for his work. So I feel like that's my little tribute to him, even though I never met him. I want to give him his dues for what he did do. So,
yeah, and yeah. So, Brother Dunn, absolutely, we loved living aboard, cruising. We cruised for about 5 years, coastal stuff, and there's no better life. If you get the chance, do it. And also, Bradford Backwoods, I apologize. Bradford Backwoods, can't talk today. The new electric motorcycles, I love them. Being an alternative energy nerd and being a biker and being an environmentalist, I think it's the coolest thing there is. I actually lived near and have my boat near where Zero Motorcycles is, and they're currently the most innovative. There are some things that I hope that they do in the future, and one of those is creating an electric touring bike that has some real range to it and some comfort to it. But yeah, I'm all for the electric motorcycles, you betcha.
What do you think about self-driving cars then?
Love them. I live right by the Tesla plant, and I used to commute from where I'm at now to San Jose every day and went right by that plant, and frequently I'd see them road testing self-driving Teslas on the road. It was pretty amazing.
So would you have one yourself?
Oh, you bet. If I could afford it.
Hey, maybe you could end up on the test program or something like that.
Yeah, I actually did try to get in with Zero Motorcycles, but none of the positions they were looking for fit my qualifications. They wanted engineers. I'm not an engineer. So, yeah, Len, absolutely. Best night's sleep on a boat. You can't beat it. Rocks you to sleep.
Brother Dan is asking, what were your favorite stops during your travels?
My favorite
stops.
Stops? Oh, yeah. There've been so many. I spent an extended period of time living down in Joshua Tree in the desert in Southern California, and I remember that very fondly. I had nothing back then. I was 18 years old. And I loved every minute of it. Well, maybe not every minute, but I loved it.
Yeah, but that's part of loving it as a whole, we'll call it.
Absolutely. Now, when my wife and I go camping and go traveling on the motorcycle, we're pretty minimalist. We do look for places that are free or cheap to camp. And we've found quite a few. There was a place in Kansas that we pulled up on it one night. It was a campground. We went into the gas station next to it because there were no people around, and they said they had just purchased it, but it wasn't maintained. The grass was 4 feet high. And they said, so if you want to camp, you can camp for free. So we did. That was a great experience. There was a place on the Blue River in Indiana that we pulled in, and we paid one night, and nobody ever collected or cashed the check. We came back through the other direction, and we camped for 3 days there and just had a wonderful time swimming in the river and nobody around. So that was definitely one of our favorites. There is a place we paid for in Maryland, Greenbrier State Park, and that's right on Greenbrier Lake, near where I grew up. And so I was familiar with it. We went back there and we spent about a week and a half camping in that campground. It's the first time I spent that amount of time in some place I paid for. So that was a favorite. So it's really all over the place. Just number one, free appeals to me.
That's right.
Number two, water. I like being around the water, on the water, whether it's a lake, a river, an ocean.
Yeah.
But all that said, the desert is also very high on it. Panamint Valley is another one of our favorite places. So, gosh, I had
Put you on the spot.
yeah, Mickey Wilson, you probably know right where I'm talking about, down on the southern part of the state there, right on the Blue River. There's only a few places that have campsites near the freeway. And Len, that's kind of an inside joke.
I had a feeling. I was pretty sure. You had mentioned at some point you had also did part of Canada too, did you?
I've been through Canada. I've been up the Alcan, and I've been all over Alaska, at least the Triangle. I've been up to the Arctic Circle, but no further north. That was back in the early 90s. Okay. I worked up in Alaska as an insurance adjuster for a few years, but that was pretty much spotty. Fly up, work a claim, fly back down.
Oh, okay.
So didn't get a lot of exploration.
Well, at least you got some time up there. You know, it doesn't matter the reason as long as you got some time there. So
absolutely. And but really my experience is all Western Canada, and it's just driving through it. It's on a way to another place. Now, I had a Northern Lights experience.
Oh,
life-changing.
Yeah.
But it was funny. We were heading back from Alaska down the Alcan, and I know that we were north of Whitehorse, and we saw lights over a mountain range, and we were tired. It was late. And so we figured, well, we'll keep going. That's got to be Whitehorse. There's nothing out there that would put lights over a mountain range. So we keep driving, and we never came on any mountains. We continued to drive, and there were still no mountains. It was flat. So as we went along, we finally got close enough to it. We could see a little movement in the lights and realized that we'd been chasing the Northern Lights. And it wasn't a mountain range.
That is so cool, because they're very tricky on the eyes. It's, you know, they're not like people see pictures. They're heavily enhanced for pictures.
Yes.
That people think they're going to look like these big long green beams. Like, it's not so easy to see them that way. That you can see them well, but not like that. They can really play tricks on the eyes.
Yeah, they're very visible, but when we saw it, there was a little bit of color, but nothing more than you'd expect to see at lights over the top of a mountain range.
Yeah, that's right.
Until we did stop for the night at one of the pullouts, and Canada has, and for anybody who hasn't been to Canada, at least Western Canada, has these really cool pullouts, and that's all it is. It's a pullout with a trash can, but you can camp there. Nobody bothers you. It's middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
beautiful. Love it.
Everywhere between major cities in Canada there's nobody around. It's the middle of nowhere. That's a common theme here.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Well, I hope you can make your way east sometime.
I need to. I really want to do a Trans-Canada trip at some point. And I don't know how soon in my future it'll be, but it's got to happen.
We took the kids last 2 years ago. We went all the way through Ontario. They've been in every province already. We're notorious for just coming home from work, and I'll tell my wife, grab a bag. I can't take this. She packs it within 50 minutes. Our go bag is ready, and we just take off with the kids with no plans.
Now it takes 5.
Now it takes 5, yeah. We do that. We sleep in the car sometimes. We have no plans. We have wherever we end up, we end up. And I want my kids to do that a lot, because if you get them used to it early, I believe they'll do it for the rest of their lives.
Yes, they will.
Audrey's 7 now. When they were 4 and 8, we took them to Iceland for 7 days, and we never had a hotel. We just had a Honda Civic in the midnight sun. And we just drove till we got tired and pulled over in places. They bathed in farmers' fields in the geo waters and stuff like that. And
really just not really having full car of everything.
No.
Like you said, whatever we had, very minimalistic, because you can't take over too much stuff anyway. You don't want to drag it for a week in a car. So, and I loved it. They never complained about it. It went better than I ever would expect it.
Kids travel well. It's parents who use them as an excuse. It always comes down to me. If you try it when they're 11 and 14, forget it. They're already jaded by it. They're not going to want to try it. But if you get them used to it early, they'll be great travelers for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
then and they never ask, you know, are we there yet? The regular question. They sit when we go to Gaspé, for example, where my in-laws live, Andrew's parents, and they never ask, are we there yet?
No.
And I love it because I don't even know how it feels like, you know, when parents say that. And I love that they enjoy it. I hope they can do that
because they know how to entertain themselves. Right. It's like go mode. Once they're there, they know what to do. We don't have to guide them through it. Sarah Wilson. Any relation to Mickey?
Yes, she is.
I've learned over time now I don't assume anymore. I always pose it as a question.
Talking about minimalism lifestyle, getting back to that a bit.
Pardon me.
What would be your advice for people who want to start, like they live regular lifestyle, so to say, and they are thinking of maybe converting more to the minimalism? What to start with? We are, you know, during our lifetime, we grow with things around us, and then the more we live, the more there are things around us that we don't even use on an everyday basis. So how to start? Like with what even to start?
Well, for my wife and I, one of the most memorable and very telling experiences that we had was moving from a house to a boat. Because immediately you get rid of everything. I mean, the rule on our boat is if it doesn't have a permanent home, it doesn't come on board.
Oh.
So the more generic description of that is move to a smaller place. If you're in a house, move to an apartment, or if you're in a position to do it, move to a tiny house, or even move to an RV. Learning to be more minimalist, go travel by RV for a year, and you will learn very well what you need versus what you want. In our experience, it has been, there are certain things you don't want to part with because you'll never get them back. Family heirlooms. With us, books are really important. And so finding a safe place for those things is a challenge. But really just getting out of the place you're at with all the room for more stuff and getting into a smaller place where you have to be more cognizant of what is there and make those decisions about what it really is important to you versus what really isn't.
It really, well, even yourself, like me, anybody who's ever been a long haul trucker realizes what it takes to live in a small area. It really makes you think of what's worth dragging in and out of a bunk every week and what you got to put up with for the week while you're into it. You know, those small spaces really do make you evaluate what you really truly have, what's needed to get by and what's just a waste of time. Let's call it for what it is.
Would you consider a 6 months rule that people say, like if you don't use it for 6 months, get rid of it?
I struggle with that one, and the reason is I can think back to some things that I threw away years ago that I still wish I had.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because there are things. When we moved up, we were living aboard our boat. We moved up to the Sierras 3 years ago. There are things that I haven't used in well over 6 months that I do intend to use again. Some of my underwater camera gear, some of my dive gear. I'm not getting rid of it because I could never replace it. But I just haven't been using it as frequently as I did. So I don't really go with that rule. It just doesn't work. I think it has to be an evaluation of what you need. And even if it's a matter of locking some things away, put them in a box and lock them away and do it without them and see if you notice them.
Yes, that's a very great tip for that.
And I seen Rick wrote here, when I got divorced, I up and left everything with my wife. I have zero for my family now. Guess where I went? Toronto. That's an inside joke with all of us. He lives by the border, and he went for a Walmart and ended up crossing the border by accident. So which was a 3-hour stopover on the way back. And he says, I love not having things to worry about. Same here. The the backpacking that I've done, like where I've talked, where I went across Europe and that, and this was started in my 40s, where most of us then want a lot more comforts. It's the greatest trips of my life because I've always had to travel business, dragging stuff, moving stuff. For 2 weeks in Europe, I had a pair of jeans in my bag. I had 3 t-shirts and a sweatshirt, a bag of socks from Walmart that I tossed as I went. And it was the most, those are the, and I've done it since. And I don't want to travel any other way now because I don't want to deal with bags and I don't want to store them in lockers and I don't want to deal with, I want to get off of whatever I'm at and go do things. I don't want to tour locker rooms at airports or train stations. I want to be out. And what you said a while ago about mixing, about living in this data so we can use the technology. My uncle, I do this because my uncle did it years ago in the early 80s. He traveled in Europe. And now instead of having to carry around a bulky 35 millimeter camera, I have a phone with a great camera and I can walk around for hours. And then when I don't have to worry about where I'm going if I get lost because then I have my phone to get me back to the train station when I'm done. So it's actually made me more free and that I can explore without always checking a map every 2 seconds. Right. And when it's time to go home, I just put on the phone and get my directions back to where I got to be.
Absolutely. And that's a great example of modern technology mixing with, old school, really trekking.
Definitely. I just seen, guys, can you answer, can you see our guest here?
We can hear you, can't see you.
I'm really here, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Suffering here.
Yeah. I don't know what happened I hope our internet didn't take a...
I can hear you guys and you're streaming fine. Let me try something here.
Yeah, we're hearing you too well. We just can't see you. And it might be on our end.
I just hit the hit play on the stream on let's see if it's just doing playback. Now it seems to be working on YouTube. So
and you can
all right. Uh-oh. I don't know if anybody can hear me. I think they can see me and probably hear you guys. Okay, now I'm seeing it on the YouTube feed. Hi, everybody. I guess this is now the Biker Bushcraft channel. Hey, Mickey. Yeah, my take on friction fires. I think it's a great skill. I think it's an important skill. I don't use it very often, and I think as a first choice for fire making, it's not a good idea. I would always carry some other means, but I think it's an important skill to learn. One of my favorite fire channels is NW Primate. This guy, I mean, he's like some kind of